Very interesting comment. This person says, don't agree, communism is ultimate democracy. It fails because it removes the incentive to be productive. That doesn't have anything to do with democracy, by the way. Anyway, China/Singapore succeed by subjecting capitalism to national social policies. Still have nothing to do with democracy. And another comment, which is a follow-up on this one, is, and the way to do it is all land owned by state and no unfettered capitalism. That's socialism. That's like, it's so confusing. And this is your favorite half Chinese. Please like, share, follow, and also follow my YouTube so I can liberate you. Now, I'm not trying to be rude, but you have no idea what communism is, and that's fine. What I was reading, yes, my screen is over there where your comment is, are typical talking points from a capitalist view, which is very, very flawed. Let me explain a little bit on why it is so flawed. Ownership of labor's value. Under communism, workers retain the full value of their labor, including surplus value that would otherwise go to capitalists. This creates a direct link between effort and reward. For example, in a hypothetical communist factory, workers collectively own the products they create. For example, cars, right? Distributing them based on need while retaining control over their work. This contrasts with capitalism, where profits are extracted by owners, disconnecting workers from the fruits of their labor. Proponents argue this system could foster pride in work and communal responsibility, as individuals see their contribution benefiting their community directly. Now you can see this in our capitalist society, that it is totally different. Go to a supermarket, these people are not really the most productive, because why would they? Why would they be productive if their fruits of their labor, the biggest share is going to capitalist people that they don't even know, that are sitting on billions on the stock market? The factory worker will not work faster. In fact, they have no incentive to work faster, because whether they make 2 cars an hour, 3 cars an hour, 5 cars an hour, or 100 cars an hour, they still will be left with $25 an hour, right? For example, if that's their wage, right? It will never be anything more. While in a communist society, they make 1 car an hour is lesser than when they make 2 cars an hour, because when they make 2 cars an hour, they own 2 cars. When they make 3 cars, they own 3 cars. When they make 4, they own 4. 100, they own 100. So, do they have more incentive to be more productive under communism or under capitalism? Where under capitalism, they will only get their hourly wage for 100 cars, and under communism, those 100 cars are theirs. I don't know you, my friend, but in my case, I would be busting my butt even harder than before. Anyway, let's continue. Intrinsic and social incentives. So, critics often overlook non-monetary motivations. In communal settings, people may work for personal fulfillment, social recognition, or collective well-being. For instance, the free software movement demonstrates how individuals contribute voluntarily to projects without financial gain, driven by passion, collaboration, and shared goals. Similarly, Marx's concepts of unalienated labor suggest that work under communism could become a source of creativity and self-realization, rather than a means to survive. And that's also very, very true. You also must understand that they don't have to compete with one another anymore. They are actually, working together on a shared thing. Is going to benefit them in the long run, because the faster they can produce 100 cars, the better it is. So would they have an incentive to create a system to build 100 cars in an hour or not? Whereas the wage laborer, nothing wrong with people having a wage, by the way, but that's the normal thing under capitalism, they will only have $25 an hour. Why would they work harder? There's no reason for it, right? So that is another thing, right? So let's go on to point 3, reduced alienation and meaningful work. Marx argued that capitalism alienates workers by separating them from their labor's product and turning creativity into a commodity. Communism aims to eliminate this alienation, allowing workers to engage in meaningful, self-directed activities. For example, artists and scientists under communism might pursue innovation driven by curiosity or societal need rather than profit, potentially leading to more authentic advancements. So that already speaks for itself and also shows that it is actually very, very democratic, as self-determination is key. Efficiency through automation and reduced work hours. Communist theory posits that automation and shared resources could reduce labor demands, allowing individuals to focus on tasks they find fulfilling. Workers would theoretically have incentives to innovate, developing labor, saving machinery, to minimize their own work hours while maintaining communal prosperity. This contrasts with capitalism, where automation often threatens jobs without redistributing gains. And that's very true. We can see it all over in the supermarkets. All the beautiful ladies at the cashiers, they're almost all gone now. And they just put one person in to look at all the self-scan, and that is counting for like what, 15, 20 registers. One person is doing all the work while her wage, let's say it is $10 an hour or $25 an hour, it's still the same, but she must do more labor. She obviously has no incentive to work harder because it's not going to pay her anything more, but now she is forced to do so, and the other one is out of a job. Meanwhile, all the prices in the supermarket are raising, so the other one who's out of a job cannot even go to that supermarket to buy some eggs. This is the reality in the United States, the most capitalist country in the world. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying. It's true, right? So, under communism, again, it spoke for itself. Now again, I want to reiterate, going back to point 3, where it was evidence that communism is more democratic also when you are at work, because you are at work most of the time. Under capitalism, you don't have that freedom because it is the capitalists on Wall Street that actually decide for the company which route they have to go. The CEO will execute the will of the capitalists of, for example, Wall Street, right? Their shareholders. That is their will that they're executing, not the will of the workers, but the will of the few. And those capitalists on Wall Street are really, really just a few, while the workers are really, really a lot. So in what way is that more democratic than where you are actually the one that self-determines? Let me give a small... I'm a little bit sick, I'm sorry. And again, I'm not attacking you. I really, really want to explain this because a lot of people are also thinking like you because they do not have this understanding. Let us continue. Let's read point 5, communal accountability. Critics of the free rider problem argue that communism would lead to laziness. But proponents counter that peer accountabilities in small decentralized communities could mitigate this. For example, in cooperative projects like communal farming or open source software, participants often self-regulate to ensure equitable contributions as freeloader risk social ostracization. So, that already says it. Anyway, I hope this is helpful to you, but again, let's just think about these things all had to do with economics. And then you also said, my screen went off, and that China/Singapore succeed by subjecting capitalism to national social policies. And the way they do it is all land owned by state and no unfettered capitalism. Well, actually, what they actually do, I don't know much about Singapore, but what China does is all the means of productions are in the hands of the people. Therefore, the state, because you cannot give everybody a piece, because if everybody had a piece, they're also going to sell and you back into capitalism. That what you're describing actually is a part of socialism. It is not capitalism, right? You have to understand this. It is not capitalism. These kind of things actually come out of capitalism as an evolution out of capitalism, because capitalism obviously isn't working. We see that left and right, right? Everybody is getting poorer by the day, and the power will get more to one point than ever, right? The power structure is very, very pointy now. So now we come to the democracy part. Already with the work, you see that it is obviously more democracy under communism, even when you're at work, but also when you're not at work, because it is about you. It is you who have things to say, directly participation, just like in China, where the people have direct participation in the creating of laws and policies, which is missing in the neoliberal West, which is extreme capitalism, where we are told that you can vote. Like in the United States, you're allowed to vote, but your vote essentially doesn't mean anything. Not even if that person is going to be voted in or not. Because let's face it, 5 times in the US history, presidents became presidents while the people overwhelmingly voted against. 2016, for example, that was Trump who fell short 3 million votes to Hillary, right? So there you go. That's nothing. They have nothing to say. They also don't have any referendum. There's no consultation with the people about policies whatsoever. If there was, the things that happening there in the Middle East wouldn't be happening right now. That is quite obvious, right? Because I've seen like almost half America was standing up. But what did the government do? Yes, exactly going against the will of the people. That's not democracy, my friend. Democracy is not the right to vote. Democracy is by the people, for the people. All these countries that call themselves so highly democratic, like especially the neoliberal democracies from the West, they are not democratic at all. And I can prove it. I already made videos about it to prove that, right? I hope you go watch it. For my country, for example, we can vote, but we also have no say in the policies whatsoever. Our governments can do whatever they want. They have backroom talks, and then they come out and they say, yeah, the agenda that we promised, we're not going to do it because we had to make concessions. See, in 4 years, then I will make you a news story and you're going to vote for me again because you're stupid, because you have no political education. And all these countries that call themselves democratic, the neoliberal West, right, that call themselves so much democratic, right, have no political education. How come you let people vote that have no political education? What kind of vote are they going to cast? They cannot cast a vote because they don't know what to vote for. It is literally not allowing them to have their own mind there to be able to make an educated vote. Most of the people in school have never read this book. I highly recommend it, from Karl Marx, like Capital, or from Lenin, Imperialism, the Highest State of Capitalism. Great, great books. Nobody in school was reading these kind of books, yet we had to vote when we were 18. This is insane. We didn't know what socialism was. We didn't know what capitalism was. All we were told, communism is bad because under Mao, under Stalin, and they were not giving any talking points. They weren't giving literal facts. They were scaring us to death that we will never vote for anything like that at all, or never ask questions to our government why they are exactly doing what they are saying that communists are doing. For example, oppressing their own people, because that's what they do. I'll give you a fine example. During C19, major protests all over the neoliberal West. What did they do to those protesters? Water cannons, police on horse beating the protesters whatsoever. Did they ever lift those restrictions? No. It sometimes even got way worse. That was in the Netherlands. I was subject to those kind of things. Anyway, in China, you know what they did after the protest? They lifted the restrictions and said, yeah, okay, if that's what you don't want, then that's what you don't want. Who got the real democracy and who got the fake democracy? That is the real question that you should start to ask yourself. Don't just take these things for granted. I know what you mean when you are saying that it removes the incentive to be productive, because the census is that in communism, everybody would get the same, right? If you are a CEO of Amazon, you would get the same wage as the worker packaging it. That's not true. Because if you make a car has a higher value at that point than a loaf of bread. Then when you make a loaf of bread, you will earn less money than when you make a car. Because the car will be yours and the loaf of bread also will be yours. The thing is, sometimes you want other things and you will be working for other things because you are a master of your own destiny right then and there. That's a part of communism. So I understand that the people think like, oh yeah, why would we work if we all get the same? That's actually what capitalism is, right? You get an hourly wage. For example, in my case, I used to work as a sommelier. I worked in a restaurant where I had to work sometimes even up to 110 hours a week. I sometimes came home, went into my bed, and I stepped out on the other side and went back to work. Almost literally. I made millions because I was the only sommelier at that time and was very, very busy. I did 3 pallets of wine in 1 week, 365 bottles of white house wine a week, minimum. I sold Dom Perignon champagne like 255 euros a bottle, like it was just tap water. Honestly, I even sold Salon. I couldn't get any more, right? So I made millions, but my salary never even rose to 500,000, not even to 100K. How can it be? How can it be? So it was only because of my passion for my work. I really had a passion for my work that I work extremely hard. Right? That is also why I was a little bit famous. Yes. But, that was my passion. And that is also what you will have in socialism, because the people will not change for these things. People will have passion for certain things, and that is why they will work harder on certain things. But in a capitalist society, the people are alienated from their products that they are making, right? Nobody has any affinity with the products that they're making anymore. It's also because many components are from different parts, etc., etc. Anyway, it's a long story. I hope you understand now a little bit more, and I hope you really will dive into and start, ask real communists. I'm not a real communist, right? I'm just somebody who is politically giving comments. I always keep myself a little bit away from picking a side. But there's nothing wrong with communism. In fact, I believe that communism is way better than a neoliberal society like we have in the collective West. And I think that socialism is the way to that. And I think that people should start to educate themselves just like I did. Yes, I know it is sometimes a little bit boring and it can be very tedious. but it can also be very exciting because you're starting to learn and understand a lot of things. Also, what is happening in our societies, because it was evolving out of capitalism. It's an evolution, right? It's an evolution out of what we call a neoliberal democracy, because that's what we're living in. We don't, there are different forms of democracies. We are having the worst one, a neoliberal democracy. That's why we're always at war. Honestly, start to learn about it. I hope that you will not take this as offense, because it's not meant like that. It is meant educational, and especially for also the other people, because many people think like this, and I just had to write it down so I can, help other people to have a broader understanding. And, all of a sudden, I think that communism doesn't really sound that bad, does it? Right? Anyway, let me know in the comment section what you all think of this. But please keep it respectful. We're not uncivilized barbarians. I'm sorry that I did not post a lot, but I'm a little bit sick and I have a lot of things on my mind. And my mother also died, and it's really, really bothering me. So I have a lot of things going on. That's it. That's my excuse. I have no other excuse. I hope people will also start to go and read these books. I know this book is pretty hard to read, but it's very, very, very interesting, especially economic parts. But this book, only the first parts, when you read it, you already understand a lot more than most people do in the world. Honestly, try and go and do that. This was not a promo, by the way. I buy this with my own money. As you all know, I do not earn money with my social media. It is out of a passion for all of you and for the freedom of the people. And the only way to get freedom is through education. And again, want to remind you, no neoliberal society is educating their people politically. And why? Because they don't want them to be free. And that is why I'm doing it, because I want you to be free. And that was why this video was made, especially for your freedom. Anyway, please like, share, and if you have not yet, then come follow. Also follow my YouTube and share my video as much as you can, repost and do all that fun stuff. Have a great day. Your favorite half Chinese.